So the 9000, which is different in architecture than the 7, 8, or even the 6000. The 9000, we moved away from the idea of having a unique IP address for the instrument as well as the computer that you're connecting to. So we moved to a router, because just like in your home, your router is the thing that distributes the IP address. Think of it in the same way of you connecting your PC to get on the internet. When you close your PC or disconnect from the internet, the router takes back the number and then it issues you another number. Sometimes it's the same, but most of the time it's different. So instead of having customers trying to figure out, does this box conflict with my PC or does my PC conflict with this scanner, we bring in the router as the solution for that scenario. So to pull that off, we have to take our PC and set it in a mode where it's listening for a new IP address. So that mode is DHCP, which simply means that the IP address will be dynamically distributed each time it needs to be distributed. So as long as you make a connection once, those IP addresses from the router will stick around and be used throughout the time that you're using the StrainSmart software. The moment you break that link, power down your PC or similar, then it's the router's job to give that PC a new address. Okay? So one of the things, I know that a lot of our customers use this TP-Link because it's what we started with and we found it to be a good router. One of the mistakes that can get made sometimes, I'm going to turn this around. One of the mistakes that gets made by a lot of our customers is they are trying to figure out what the connection is here, and one of the ports is labeled WAN. Now, it can be used if you use it in the right methodology, but most of the time people make the mistake of plugging either their PC into this port or their router, or their scanner into that router port. So this is supposed to be the distributing feature for pushing this out to other networks or other connections you might have. But the reason people make the mistake is because the instructions for this unit say connect one connection to your WLAN, that means your internet source, and the other to your PC. So they make that mistake and then the communication doesn't really happen as they expect. So there are 4 ports on here, numbered 1, 2, 3, and 4. So any one of those 4 as numbered could be used, and in this case I'm using ports 1 and 2. So I don't really care where the PC is plugged in or the scanner as long as it's one of those 3 ports. And I look for communication. Once I turn on the scanner and the PC, there should be some connectivity LEDs that are showing on here for ports 1 and 2, showing that I'm physically connected. And if there was some data moving between the two, you'd see some flickering between those LEDs. Okay? So as far as the router is concerned, it's seeing 2 quote-unquote computers or computer-like entities out here. One is the computer, the other is the scanner, the 9000. So we've made a connection to the Ethernet port here, another place where people will make mistakes as well, because sometimes they accidentally plug into a synchronization port versus the Ethernet port. So it's very important that they make that connection at the Ethernet port. And here you can see all of our input channels, 12 of which are all strain gauges. And then the other 4 are optional input cards that you can get that will allow you to hook up anything from a high level input, piezoelectric if you want to use some kind of accelerometer, and there's a thermocouple connection as well. I have the cards here, I have nothing connected to them, but down here on the strain gauge ports, I have 5 strain gauges associated with this L-shaped beam that I have here. So on that beam there's a T rosette here and then a 3-element rosette there. So we can, eventually we'll be able to talk to them. But what I want to show you is the process of the handshaking because in this new version of StrainSmart, actually very similar to the older versions, there's usually a maintenance utility where we go in and create the conversation between the scanner and the PC before we actually launch the application.